All right, are we starting with the jam-packed action of the Friday night shows? I use that term loosely, shows. You want to get through some of this?
Well, of course, if we're going to talk about the AEW pay-per-view, because it was a live Rampage, we do need to go through Rampage, and SmackDown did have a few things on there of note.
Well, let's start with SmackDown and go over those few things of note. And I'm going to ask you a few questions in the course of this also. So I watched the first match, and this was SmackDown for what, Friday, March 4th. The Intercontinental title opens the show up. Sami Zayn against Ricochet. And I have not seen or paid any attention to Ricochet in some time. But now I hear, is this correct? Is this the scuttlebutt that you're hearing, that he is slotted in internally in the WWE as the number 2 babyface on SmackDown behind Drew McIntyre?
I hadn't heard it put that way, but
I had heard it put exactly that way on the interweb. I don't know if after the last week he's been batting 0-0-0. I don't know if I want to credit it, but yes, one of the people who said that was dear Uncle Dave. But yes, he's high up there, is Ricochet, apparently in their hearts and minds now. And so I thought, I'll see what's going on here. They announce him at 207 pounds. So they're again, if they're not listening to my advice, because they've always done that. They've always shied away, as everybody in wrestling did, from announcing small, tiny people as how small and tiny they are. But at the same point, Ricochet is neither as tall or as heavy as the female referee in this match. So they put him next to a girl he's not as big as. You know, he's very accomplished with the acrobatics. And he looks like he's a professional athlete. He's in shape physically. The problem, he's in good shape, as I said, but kind of tiny, but he doesn't as much wrestle and do the gymnastics as a byproduct of the wrestling as much as every once in a while he does something wrestling-wise as a byproduct of the gymnastics. Do you see what I'm saying there?
I do, yeah.
And so I'm saying I've always thought, wonderful for the kids. And they have a big kids audience. They're the last wrestling promotion that anybody takes their kids to. Put a mask on him, make him a superhero, Rey Mysterio of a modern generation, whatever. But to be the number 2 babyface when you've got that face and basically your thing is you do the gymnastics, I don't know if he's going to be hitting that sweet spot. Zayn's a good worker and he physically looks like shit. And we've said that. I don't know how he is as strong as he is to move some of his opponents around with those arms. And I mean, he's redheaded. He can't tan. But, I guess genetically he can't do sit-ups. I don't know. But he can work his ass off. So naturally, he lost the match, did Sami Zayn, when Johnny Knoxville came out and distracted him and Ricochet beat him. And just the sight of Johnny Knoxville pisses me off. I don't know what it is about him, but just the sight of him pisses me off. I hope somehow Zayn goes against the fucking grain in their match or whatever and just drops him on his head. What'd you think?
Thought the match was some good action. I've liked Ricochet in the past. Sami Zayn, you can't, any problems you ever have with the way they use him, you can't say he can't work, and you can't say he doesn't show a lot. It was a WWE style match, but I thought it was all right. And I'm not a big fan of Johnny Knoxville being used here. I don't mind Jackass. I don't hate him viscerally like you do. But I'm not sure if I want a guy who was intercontinental.
He sleeps in filth. He sleeps in filth in the gutter and the streets, and he picks up garbage and eats disgusting maggots.
But yeah, slotting him into WrestleMania against a guy that was just the Intercontinental, well, that title doesn't really mean anything anymore, so I shouldn't even say it like that. But I don't know. I mean, You know, if you're a celebrity and you're willing to play ball with WWE, they'll let you just do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, seriously, if you grew up and you're a wrestling fan and you're on any show on any network, get in touch with them and just be prepared. They'll let you hang out and just do whatever the fuck you want. You can have matches. You can work at WrestleMania. You can do whatever you want. Just let them know.
And that number again is 134. Never mind.
No, that's not the number.
So next, Austin Theory. We finally get some clue that he can talk because he comes down the aisle with his own microphone, and it wasn't where he was having to sit there and feed off of Vince McMahon and basically just be the yes guy and nod his head and try to say the right things that when he can't understand what Vince is talking about. Now he's on his own, and he got some personality. He didn't seem bashful about things. He delivered his shit well. He's coming. He's on McAfee's ass. Pat McAfee at ringside. He asked McAfee, why was Vince on your show? He set you up because you're a loudmouth and people want to see you shut up, right? And what are you going to do when your jaw is wired shut? And he announces that he is the opponent for Pat McAfee at WrestleMania that Vince McMahon has arranged. That when Vince had told him on the McAfee show that if he wanted to be at wrestle at WrestleMania, he'd get him a match. And I mean, and this, I've wondered why, because McAfee was so good in the two things he did before, why they haven't had him wrestle again. Well, it's good they saved it for WrestleMania because he's a celebrity and he's probably not going to embarrass himself or all of us. And of course, as we mentioned, and now a lot of people are hopping on Uncle Dave again because he's the one that broke the news that McAfee's wrestling Vince at WrestleMania. Well, I still don't know. I can believe that they planned that. I can believe, actually, internally knowing these people, that was discussed, especially knowing Vince, that was discussed, or it went far enough that somebody finally talked him out of it. But they obviously used the McAfee show with him on it. You know, they used that interest to promote the show that he did, and now Theory is probably one of the best guys on the roster to put McAfee against because he's so talented. He'll keep the match on track. McAfee doesn't have a ton of experience. I'm sure they'll work it out ahead of time. And also because he's a weaselly type, the people do want to see him get his ass kicked, and he can get his ass kicked and still not lose the heat that somebody else might that might also not be able to carry McAfee through the day. And then he slaps the headset off McAfee's head and boom, and then goes and takes his selfies and off we go. So at least now we know he can talk and he's got some oomph. And I'd a whole lot rather see this Theory versus McAfee than Vince versus McAfee.
We still don't know what it will be. Now, again, on Raw, Austin Theory was hamming it up for the camera after he thought Vince left the room, thinking, oh, I could do whatever I want with the contract. Then Vince does the McAfee show. Austin Theory comes out here, no Vince, to say that he's facing McAfee. Who knows what it'll be at WrestleMania? Now that they let the buzz get out there that Vince was going to wrestle, and now that they let Dave get all the heat for being wrong about it as of this second, if all of a sudden Austin Theory and McAfee are in the ring at WrestleMania and all of a sudden the No Chance in Hell music hits and Vince comes out there, it'd be a big moment and people wouldn't be completely surprised. And we still don't know where this is going to go. Was he in Indianapolis just to record the Pat McAfee show, or did they get in the ring and work out? We don't know.
We will find out. At least they're leaving some questions that we'd like answered. Speaking of questions we wouldn't like the answers to, that was followed on the program by Naomi and Sasha against Mella and Zelina. Happy Corbin and Mosh Pit Jones played poker with a bunch of job guys. Drew McIntyre wrestled Jinder Mahal and did a promo about Happy and Mosh Pit. Booger played guitar so Shaky Nakamura could have epileptic seizures, but the Usos jumped him and beat them both up in the aisleway. And then I guess somebody just came out with a spatula and carried him off, because then the Usos and Reigns and Heyman came out so we could actually start paying attention to the show again. So obviously this promo was about Madison Square Garden and particularly WrestleMania. But in this case, and I wasn't disappointed, Heyman just did the fills. He just did, "Oh yes, my tribal chief," and was in the background, and Reigns took center stage on this, and he did a great fucking job. Just excellent. His voice and his inflections and the way that he makes it sound natural, along with being a grown adult man, is why he looks like a fucking star and is taken as a star. And so he took this and sounds, more sincere than almost anybody else in what he's doing, not just in this company, especially with all the other canned scripted shit, but of everybody. And is what he's going to do to Brock Lesnar, and he will acknowledge me. And boom. And, again, I wasn't disappointed. Normally I would be not getting to hear Heyman, but Reigns did such a good job with this. What'd you think?
I can't add too much more to that either. Roman Reigns is on top of his game as far as control and everything he does in a promo and a match, and this was more of what we've seen. And for once, I'm happy it was just a promo with no angle.
Well, Brian, the angle got taken care of next, because the Usos were out there. Obviously, they're part of the bloodline there. So again, they say Tony Khan refuses to do rematches, even when people want to see them. And how many times have we attempted to or actually seen the Usos and the Viking Raiders now? It's just everywhere.
That's the problem with the Usos. Every tag team you think of them wrestling, the problem is you think of them wrestling them 1,000 times.
Well, in this case, they had another match, and I didn't stick around for it. But the angle came up next with the New Day. They made their entry, Big E and Kofi Kingston, on a four-wheeler, an ATV type of vehicle, right? You know what I'm saying? They just got four wheels, and it's the off-road type of, And evidently Kofi gave it to Big E for his birthday. They're not even doing the deal where the fans chipped in and got the guy a cake, or the fan club made him a new robe. It's just his tag team partner said, "Oh, fuck, I'll just give him a $25,000 or however much these things cost, custom ATV. And Big E's going to wrestle Sheamus." And apparently there's been conversation about this ATV amongst these people beforehand, because before the match even starts, Ridge Holland is out there with Sheamus, right? And
Sheamus,
whichever one. And Ridge takes something or other and just starts, a chair, I believe it was, and starts beating the ATV up as a distraction. So when the poor baby faces drop their tail, "Oh my God, my ATV!" then Sheamus can beat up Big E and just kick the shit out of both of them. And the heels jumped on the ATV and stole it and rode off at 3 miles per hour. And there was no match.
There was no match.
They all got in the ring for the match. They came out on the ATV. They got in the ring for the match. And then the heels started beating up the ATV and then beat up the baby faces and did a low-speed getaway down the aisleway on the ATV.
So in terms of actual wrestling rules, is that a no contest?
I think that probably a no contest would be the best way to put it. No match, no contest, no interest, no ratings, no viewers.
What the hell was that? Where'd you get that?
You never know about these things. But fortunately, we did get to see more of this story because they went to break, and when they come back from the break, they showed the footage. They took the ATV out back like Old Yeller and took sledgehammers and did the best they could to beat it. It wasn't like you were seeing, I don't know, I'm trying to think of people like Vader, Bam Bam Bigelow, people like that could have really wielded a sledgehammer or welded. Would that be the past tense? Wielded. But yeah, so they beat the ATV up with sledgehammers.
Where'd they get the sledgehammers?
Well, I don't know. More importantly, how badly did they hurt Big E and Kofi Kingston that all the way through the fucking commercial break, they couldn't find their stolen ATV that was only 100 feet away out in the back?
I hear some banging over there. Is that it? No, it must be something else.
I hear banging. Armageddon. Anyway, did you listen to the Robert D. Rayford clip?
I did, actually, because several people sent it in, and I finally got to hear it.
Armageddon! All right, never mind. You're just hopeless. You're not a gerbil fan.
I am not, no.
Well, I'm not a fan of Johnny Knoxville.
That's a transition.
That's who was next, and he talked, and he sounds as big of an idiot as he looks. And then the main event, and again... What did we really either just watch the start or the middle or the end of these programs. In between is just meaningless sound and motion. But the main event is going to see Ronda Rousey in action against Cruella Deville. And I'm thinking this, again, might not be the best way to showcase Ronda Rousey's special, unique skills. Because every time we've seen her, was she this green on the first run, or did they hide it better?
Both.
Okay. But anyway, before the bell started for this match, Charlotte came out because obviously, you know, that's where they're headed. And again, Ronda Rousey, she slaps her, she kicks her, she goes for an armbar. Charlotte gets up on the apron. Cruella stops Ronda from behind and starts getting heat on her. It's like they not only can't trust her to be on offense and do the things that she does that gets her over, but they're putting in her position where she's got to sell just over and over and over. And she's not that. Cruella held a chin lock forever because they still had some time they need to put in. And as I said, she's not Jack Briscoe. And at one point, Ronda just came out of everything and went on offense. It was like there was no momentum changes as much as it's your turn now. Ronda is not really experienced working, and I don't think Deville is the best person to lead her. And then finally, she just broke loose with 3 judo throws in a row, and then that Piper's Pit. She can do that. That stuff is great. That's what she needs to be doing. But the one arm tied behind her, or the letting her twist in the wind in the Battle Royal, or the putting in her position where she's got to sell for an extended period of time, she ain't there yet. And so 3 judo throws, the Piper's Pit, which is a nice high-impact move that looks good, and then puts the armbar on, gets the tap out. It was 3 minutes from start to finish by the time that they got around to it. And then Charlotte gets in the ring. I think that's where she was in her high heels and everything, right? And there's no... Ronda just, okay, boom, takes her down and ankle locks her, and she's tapping like Bill Bojangles Robinson. And then there we go. Wait a minute.
Are you going to hotshot these new sound effects so early in the show?
Okay, Stacy got me a new sound gimmick, and I've been anxious to try it out. But that was SmackDown. What did you think of Ronda's confrontation there with Cruella Deville?
I didn't think very much of it. They did build it up the entire show as Ronda's Smackdown debut. I didn't realize she had never wrestled on SmackDown in her previous run.
Maybe that's why we don't remember her being this green. How often did she wrestle on television? Were we even watching the shows at that point?
She was definitely wrestling on the pay-per-views or the premium live events, whatever they are
Whatever
called.
they were, yeah.
I don't know. How many matches did she actually have during that first run?
We ought to, I should say we ought to, but we don't have time to. But a member of the cult of Cornette out there that's more well-versed on this situation than we are with the statistics. Maybe we can call Tony Khan. He can give us the stats. He's got plenty of free time.
Yeah, maybe he could book SmackDown.
Why not? He could pop the corn too.